Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Marinelle Mukherjee, and I serve in several ways. I am a member of the worship committee, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing today, and I'm vice president of staff resources as well. It's my first time on the board. I hope I can do it. Thank you, dears. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. This morning we have a guest speaker, Reverend Alan Wells. He is a Buddhist teacher, a Unitarian Universalist minister, and a pastoral counselor. I draw your attention to the backside of your order of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. Following the story wisdom, kids are invited to join Sunday Fun Day with Lucas Medness. Games, crafts, getting to know each other, and most importantly, having fun while in community. After the service, those gathered in person are welcome to visit with one another. Refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do visit our website, uucmc.org, where you can sign up to get the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope.
Good morning. It's nice to see you. I was thinking as I was sitting here waiting quietly for the service to begin, how much I feel when I come here that in a certain way I'm coming home. It's been a long time since I served this congregation as Director of Religious Education, but I remember during those years of the great number of relationships that I was able to form. So I'm just very happy to be here and have a few conversations at the beginning with friends who kind of calmed me down. I had a small apocalypse, if that could be such a thing, in my house last night with a large plumbing leak, and didn't get. I thought maybe it's just to kind of tune me up for this morning, make me live up to my words. And we come here for so many reasons, but among them all is a journey of some sort that we know that is essential to our lives. We could call it a search for truth. We can call it by many names of the destination to which we hope to arrive at. But it's a journey to be fully alive. And in our own particular journey as Unitarian Universalists, we enjoy the diversity of our journeys and to find ourselves learning from each other, which is why in this particular service I would like in the latter part to invite you to comment on the thoughts that I offer this morning, because I'm learning from you as well as hopefully you learning from me. And this journey that we all are on is truly remarkable, and it is really good to be together this morning. I would like to now have our chalice lit, and the chalice itself is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith and began in the years of World War II as a symbol of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee to acknowledge by the symbol of the flame the learning that is important to our lives, to the light of freedom as well, and to symbolize to a world in trauma, and especially to refugees escaping from Nazi Germany, that here was a place of safety which they could turn to and would help them to escape those conditions. So it is with that thought in mind of the light that symbolizes for us the light of freedom and of learning and companionship that we have lit our chalice this morning. I invite you, as you are able and willing, to please stand and let us sing together, "Morning Has Come," 100 in our hymn books.
Today's story for all ages comes from StoryCorps. Many of you may be familiar with that from NPR, people telling real-life stories. And this one's called I Was Robbed by Julio Diaz. A social worker from the Bronx, Julio Diaz, was coming home from a long day's work when he had an encounter with a teenager who held him up at knife point. This is the story of the unusual way Julio reacted. So I get off the train and I'm walking to the stairs, and this young teenager pulls out a knife. He wants my money. So I give him my wallet and I told him, "Here you go." He starts to leave, and as he's walking away, I say, "Hey, wait a minute, you forgot something. If you're going to be robbing people for the rest of the night, you might as well take my coat to keep you warm." So he looks at me, wondering, what's going on here? And he asks me, "Why are you doing this?" I'm like, "Look, man, if you're willing to risk your freedom for a few dollars, you must really need the money. All I wanted to do was go get dinner. If you want to join me, you're more than welcome. You can follow me if you want." I thought maybe he really needs help. So we go to the diner, where I normally eat. We sit down in a booth, and the manager comes by, and the dishwashers come by, and the waiters come by to say hi, you know. The kid is, "Wow, you know everybody. Do you own this place?" I'm like, "No, I just eat here a lot." The kid says, "You're even nice to the dishwasher." "Haven't you been taught you should be nice to everybody?" "Yeah, but I didn't think people actually behave that way." So I ask him, "What is it you want out of life?" He had almost a sad face. He couldn't answer me, or he didn't want to. The bill came and I looked at him. "I guess you're going to have to pay for this bill." "You have my money, and I can't pay for this. So if you give me my wallet back, I'll gladly treat you." He didn't think even about it. He said, "Here you go." So I got my wallet back. I gave him $20 for, maybe it will help him. I don't know. When I gave him the 20, I asked him to give me something in return. His knife. And he gave it to me. It's funny, when I told my mom what happened, no mom wants to hear this. But with her, she's like, "Well, you're the type of kid. When somebody asks you the time, you give them your watch." Well, I figure if you treat people right, you can only hope that they will treat you right. It's as simple as it gets in this complicated world. Isn't that wonderful? Julio Diaz, it was just a wonderful story. And we will now sing. Any young people we have with "Go Now in Peace," please. Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. Online, instructions are located in the service description box. You may join this time of generosity via text, Send your offering by mail or charge your contribution online. Please give generously.
Boy, there's a lot happening these days. As I look at the pictures that has been chosen for the screen, I'm reminded of the awesomeness of our times, and think of the word awesome as being awful, and yet it's full of the unknown and with a sense of awe. There's our involvement in climate crises, preparing for artificial intelligence, and I dare to mention, as we all know so well, the politics of our time. It's easy, I think, to feel stuck, somewhat like Woody Allen. He complained once, he says, about our times, more than at any other time in history, mankind faces a crossroads. One path leads to despair and utter hopelessness. The other to total extinction. Let us pray that we have the wisdom to choose correctly. Some of my older friends have told me that they would rather not live much longer. Things are so difficult. And some of my younger friends have told me that they do not wish to have children. They don't want to bring them into this future world. And there are times when I echo these sensibilities, and especially bemoan our lack of political leadership at this critical time. I use the word apocalypse not carelessly. The concept actually originated from Jewish duress in the centuries following the Babylonian exile around 587 in the BCE, and has persisted in Christianity and Islam. It refers to an awareness that the world as we have known it is coming to an end, and that a rising world will be very different. This awareness seems exactly accurate to me for our time. At that time, in the early 5th century, a period of crisis gripped the entire world. It lasted from about the 8th century to the 3rd. According to the philosopher Karl Jaspers, it was a time of climate change, imperial renegotiation, an immense intercultural mix. It spawned what Jaspers, the philosopher, refers to as the axial age, when some of the world's wisest teachers arose to meet the challenge. For example, in ancient Israel, prophets appeared at that time: Elijah, Isaiah, and Jeremiah. In other part of the world, Confucius and Lao Tzu. India produced the Upanishads and the Buddha. In Iran, it was Zarathustra. Greece witnessed the appearance of Homer, of the philosophers Parmenides, Heraclitus, and Plato, and of the traditions, the Thucydides and Archimedes. A fresh way of conceiving of life developed almost simultaneously in China, India, and the West. Historically, and in our individual times as well, it frequently takes a great shock to impel us towards a rapid change of direction. A bridge collapses, and we realize the lack of attention that we have paid to its superstructure. If you enjoy the support of a recovery group, you know very well how often it has taken a great shock to spur individuals into a new and wholesome way of living. A marriage fails, a job is lost. Much more often than we might expect, the onset of a debilitating divorce too, blesses the former patient who now becomes a prophet. Following catastrophe, he or she discovers what they believe to be that their ultimate catastrophe has actually transformed itself into a source of their ultimate freedom. Commonly, as Leonard Cohen sings, it is the crack in the vase that lets the light in. I consciously inserted the word adventure into my title. My purpose was confessed twofold. On the one hand, on the spirit of Woody Allen, I couldn't resist applying a rather wry, sardonic tone to my title. But my other intention was more virtuous. For I believe it can be possible for us to experience the apocalypse from a sense of adventure. This adventure, though, we must be very clear, is not a material one. It is a spiritual adventure. It is indifferent to technological means of progress, though beneficial technological invention may follow from it. And it has nothing to do with political leadership and change, although it may inspire political transformation. The poet Christopher Fry speaks to me about this possibility for transformation in a poem he wrote in 1945 when civilization had been torn apart by World War II. He wrote, "Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries breaks, cracks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flows, the thaw, the flood, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to face us everywhere, never to leave us till we take the longest stride of soul men ever took. Affairs are now soul-size. The enterprise is exploration into God. Where are you making for? It takes so many. What are you waiting for? It takes so many thousands of years to wake up." Christopher Fry affirms the fact affairs are now soul-size. The enterprise, he says, is exploration into God. If you prefer, you may substitute the word ultimate reality, as did my theology teacher, Paul Tillich. But whatever the language, it is now that our human enterprise has become full-time spiritual exploration. Our job is nothing less than to reassess the meaning of what it really means to be a human being. Are we at the doorway to the great extinction, to which Woody Allen referred, or could we possibly be at the threshold of a great awakening? There's a key word in Frye's proclamation, and that's the word now. Frye wrote, "Thank God a time is now when wrong comes up to face us everywhere." This now is the precious moment when we must decide whether or not to accept our spiritual journey. We can't wait. We must take our first steps now. Call it what you will. Call it risk-taking when all other alternatives have failed. Call it surrender of the belief that we are in control of our lives completely. Call it hope. Call it desperation. Or call it faith in what may be possible. Or just call it your personal Big Bang. This moment is the truth that every wise person knows and feels when he or she begins their journey. And it is the one to which every successful person in recovery holds dear. It is the moment of beginning. At this moment, we don't know what it will bring, and we do not know what will be the consequences. All we have is an awareness that we must now upend all the beliefs upon which we have previously depended. We know that these have not worked, and as a consequence, our lives have become unmanageable. As Albert Einstein famously said, we know that we cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness from which we created it. Such a change in consciousness is revolutionary. It will upend many thousands of years of perceiving ourselves as disconnected from the rest of the universe, of believing, of believing that we are here to dominate the earth, and that we must have a hierarchical government to substitute for our natural interconnection. And most importantly, that we are truly of a unity of heart and mind, not just mind. And we will upend the erroneous Renaissance belief in social and political progress. And we will certainly upend the capitalist system, whose adherents believe that our success depends upon our material circumstances. A warning, though, we must be aware of getting hung up on numbers. The wise persons of the axial age were very few in numbers when compared with all those of the population who were ensnared by the old ways. But some followed, and they were awakened. Sociological studies suggest that it takes only a committed 3.5% of a given population to change the consciousness of the whole. But the point here is not about percentages anyway. It is about freeing our happiness, our own happiness, from the fetters of unworkable conditions. Our liberation will begin with liberating our own mind from our own erroneous, deleterious beliefs. And so we begin with a change in consciousness that is almost unbelievable, even as it is necessary. And may be reminded by the words of the Buddha, who taught, all experience is preceded, he said, by mind, made by mind. Speak or act with a corrupted mind, and suffering follows, as the wagon wheel follows the hoof of an ox. All experience is preceded by mind, led by mind, made by mind. Speak or act with a peaceful mind, and happiness follows like a never-departing shadow. When I read these words of the Buddha, I'm reminded of the directions that Robert Pirsig, in his Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance reports, were read by the owner of a new motorcycle when he opened the delivery of his unassembled bike, had just arrived from Japan, and read the first instruction, which was, before assembly, achieve peace of mind. The very first thing we must do is to vacate our minds from the storage that it fills it with outdated evolutionary programming. This may not be easy. Our minds may be panicked today by the predicament that our beliefs have led us into. It can be hard to accept that the apocalypse is no longer an approaching danger, that it is actually here and we are in it. The earth is on fire, the lands are flooding, and we are wondering whether to turn our lives over to the direction of artificial intelligence. And strong men strive to control the world, and we are in a state naturally of shock. Our old evolutionary mind was wired to remain on alert always for things that might go wrong, for predators, and to search for prey. It is a lot to let go of. Initially, we may feel at loss when even for a short while we let ourselves relax in these days, in these times, without being on guard. A few years ago, psychologists at the University of Virginia performed an experiment to determine what it was like for people to sit alone quietly for 6 to 15 minutes. Experimenters perceived that they might get bored and offered them the option, if they needed stimulation, they could push a lever and that would give themselves an electric shock. Now, before the experiment, every participant testified that no shocks. They would pay money not to be shocked. But in the actual experiment, 65% of the men and 25% of the men shocked themselves rather than remain quiet with their minds. Quieting the mind is scary because the mind must sacrifice boundaries. Anything can happen. Old memories may threaten. Present experiences may frighten. An unpredictable future is ahead. Psychologist Erich Fromm reminds us that we humans are anxious with freedom, and that's why we adhere, he said, to doctrines and follow dictators. But there's another possibility. As we free up our mind space from our limited, overdone conditioning, we become and can become creative, entirely creative. We can become insightful. As this has long been documented by spiritual sages, by artists, writers, musicians throughout the ages. The Buddha taught us a simple practice of insight meditation, which opens doorways to extraordinary awareness. Indigenous peoples have often awakened through animistic trances. And awakening can happen at any time, but especially during meditation and when we are present with the unbounded aliveness of nature. The Nobel laureate physicist and mathematician Roger Penrose reports that his epiphany about the formation of black holes came while crossing a road. Einstein is famous for noting that he derived his insights from his meditative walks in the woods around Princeton University. Now we understand as we may not have before, the physiology of this aha moment. In a recent article in Scientific American, the authors state that the first requirement is for our brain's activity to come to a rest. Then, a burst of energy may appear in the brain's right frontal lobe, just above the right ear. And this process may continue, inclining us increasingly to take new risks, and from each new risk emerges a new insight. Daruroa Salvi, who is director of the Creative Cognition Lab at John Cabot University in Rome, has compared solving puzzles by two means, one by traditional analysis and the other by inactive insight. She includes that the differential benefit of insight is that, in her words, it enables us to discriminate between, catch this, what is fake and what is real, between real news stories and fake ones, she writes. And it offers real-world skills that help people navigate our overwhelming information landscape. How much today do we not need this skill in our attention economy of information seduction? I treasure for myself the story of a Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, who tells about his experience in a refugee boat that was carrying escapees from Vietnam during the Vietnam War. Awful things were happening on board the boat. There were sea pirates shoving people overboard. But it happens there was one person in the stern of the boat who was able to be calm, and his presence reduced the trauma for the whole boatload of escapees. So I think if you enter a room of people, look for the one who's calm. And if you don't find him or her, it's probably you. The insight that I'm speaking about this morning derives from a different place than we're used to occupying ourselves with in our normal thinking. It derives from our whole organism, not just from our head. And because it includes our heart, it can probably be best alluded to by poetry. The poet, excuse me, the poet William Carlos Williams has written, in fact, he says it is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. I would like to invite you into a quality of quiet now as you listen to this poem by the poet-politician of Chile, Pablo Neruda. Now we will count to 12. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, fire, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it's about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing Perhaps a huge silence might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. And so may it be. In all ways, amen. Well, I had the opportunity to share my piece with you, and I'm wondering if there might be some comments or reactions or thoughts or reflections that some of you might have and be willing to share. You know, we learn from each other, and as we hear each other express ourselves in the congregation, we learn more about each other and can draw closer to each other also. So are there any thoughts or comments? And it's not mandatory, but if you have, yes.
Oh, I'll just say thank you for reminding me of the book Zen and the Motorcycle Maintenance, because I read it many years ago, And after your talk today, I'm very inspired to reread it, and I'm sure it will have a lot more meaning. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate the sermon. It was great, and ironically enough, I was going to say something pretty similar. I've read the book Motorcycle Maintenance, and it kind of is interesting how you were saying the physiology of having a aha moment kind of ties into quieting the mind because, as you probably know, the author was a practicing Buddhist, and he had this great kind of aha, like a moment about the kind of like a concept called equality. And so it's kind of interesting to kind of like see how that works in people. And yeah, I certainly need to quiet my mind. So like I'm definitely gonna give that a try for sure. Thank you.
And you're not alone. And I think that's an important point for me also, that the creativity becomes out of letting go of all the ways we used to think, which means letting go of all the stuff that normally fills our mind.
I enjoyed your story about Thich Nhat Hanh off Vietnam and that refugee boat. I didn't know that story about him, and it's interesting to see how powerful mindfulness can be even in those situations.
I'm feeling frustrated and disappointed about the lack of active resistance against the current political situation, and particularly against Donald Trump. I was very active in the anti-Vietnam War movement, and I've gone to every demonstration I can find around here, No Kings, etc. But I'm disturbed by what I view as passivity among so many people with the nightmare that Donald Trump and the threat he presents to our democracy.
Maybe that is the beginning of knowing that things aren't right, but the thing that I would offer that's so very important is not to stop there, to then use that, if we can, as the signal, as the probe that we need to be more open and aware and let go of a lot and see what may arise that is different from what we've tried, I will say, for the past 10,000 years, maybe. Hasn't worked. Well, I don't want to take up so much of our time. I thank you very much for your comments. So I will just invite us Bob, I can't turn this off. Can you hear me? You can hear me all right, though, right? I'll just invite us for a moment just to, can we just sit where you are without doing anything in particular. You may find it helpful to close your eyes, or if there's too much going on in your mind, maybe just focusing on something that's pleasant in the room. And just see, if you will, what it's like to acknowledge the space between the troubles, the break that becomes between the thoughts. Most of our minds are continually occupied with trying to think our way out, or with dealing with the emotions of horror and fear and fright. They're all there, and if they're there because things are real that, to which they are reacting, but they're not the whole story. There is some areas in our mind that are not taken over by our thoughts, our emotions, our sensations. Maybe just take a short, very short glance in yourself. Is there a possibility of something new coming out and arising that's beyond all of our brain's library? So be it. Amen. Blessed be. I invite us to sing. As you're willing to stand, if you're able, 1042, The Rivers of Babylon. As we prepare to leave this place of contemplation, learning and sharing, to serving the world around us, let us bring with us the mission of our heart. Even as Julio in the story Martinell read, gave up all the protocols, you could say, of Western civilization, we have the capacity to be different in our daily actions, and who knows what may happen around us, but we know there's a lot that will happen inside us. May it be so. May we serve the world in gladness. Amen. Blessed be. Will you please remain seated for the postlude?